Hey ladies, it's Sasha Rosa here, holistic womb specialist, and I'm here today with another video that you're really going to enjoy and learn a lot from. I'm going to talk about, are your relationships affecting your fibroids? Are they making your fibroids worse? Okay, so we're really going to dive deep into it today. I'm really excited about this topic, and you're going to learn so much because, again, a lot of women think about their fibroids in terms of physically, but they don't think about how their emotional well-being, in general is affecting their fibroids, because it has a huge effect, right, on not just the development, but also the, the symptoms, right, or even, the growth of the fibroids. So we're going to talk about that today. All right. So if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. Happy that you're here. Be sure to subscribe. Okay. We talk a lot about fibroids on here, reproductive health, holistic health. This is a holistic channel. Okay. So if that is your jam, go ahead and subscribe, and be sure to also like the video. All right. If you're watching the video, you enjoy the video, please like the video. That's to everybody that's watching. Okay. So that YouTube can push this out more, so more women can learn about fibroids, the truth behind fibroids, and what's really going on with their body when they're actually, when they're experiencing these reproductive health issues. Okay. So, because there's so much wrong information out there, but we're going to talk about that in another video. But I want to talk about when it comes to emotional stress, when it comes to just chronic stress, and how that affects your fibroids in general, in terms of romantic relationships. This is relationships in general, but definitely romantic relationships. Okay, so for those that are new, I am a holistic womb specialist, and what I do is I help women who have fibroids and other reproductive health issues get to the emotional and physical root cause of their issue in order to heal naturally. I help women adopt a personalized womb detoxification protocol in order to eradicate fibroids, ovarian cysts, fertility issues, you name it, anything dealing with the womb, anything dealing with the menstrual cycle, anything dealing with the hormones. That's what I do. I help women get rid of those issues naturally, holistically, right? Very important, and adopt and embody, a fibroid-free lifestyle, right? So that we don't continuously get these issues over and over again. I've helped many women, hundreds over the years, become fibroid-free, be able to have babies after infertility issues for years, and so much, okay? Through my programs and my courses, I love what I do for women, helping them get their freedom back, helping them get their lives back, helping them get their health back, okay? So that's a little bit about me in case you're new. So let's get into the topic, y'all. Let's get into the topic today. So let's talk about emotional stress, how that impacts fibroids, and also how your relationships may be impacting fibroids. I really want to take my time with this video. I got my notes ready because, listen, we're going to dive into it, okay? So take notes. Listen, send this video to a woman that has fibroids, okay? Whether it's 1 or 5, okay? Because this is really, really important. So when it comes to fibroids, again, we don't really think about how, for the most part, there's not too many conversations around how, toxic relationships have a deep effect on your fibroids, right? And it can really impact your fibroids. People talk about diet a lot. People talk about, so many other things a lot, right? Herbs and all this stuff, right? But nobody talks about emotional health. Nobody talks about, how toxic relationships can really interfere with, your fibroids. How can they cause development again, and also worsen just the symptoms and grow your fibroids, okay? So if you ever felt as though certain relationships were draining, were causing you more harm than good, this video is for you. Like I said, it could be your parents, your siblings, it could be your romantic relationships, your work relationships, because we have different relationships with all types of people, not just romantic relationships, right? But when it comes to romantic relationships, I want to say our society is a bit obsessed. And this is why I say this. Like, you turn on social media, you just turn on YouTube, you turn on anything in general, it's just always, they're always talking about relationships. And I'm just like, wow, okay? It's like been an obsession over the last few years, especially since COVID. And let me know, am I the only one that feels that way? It's like an obsession. We have like a billion relationship coaches, and it's overload, right? So I know that that's an important topic that people actually do want to talk about. So that's why I wanted to bring this topic up. And it's important in terms of getting rid of your fibroids naturally, because listen, if you're healing, if you're watching this, more than likely you're on your journey of shrinking your fibroids or getting rid of your fibroids or getting rid of your PCOS or endometriosis. And you know, who you have around you, especially in this present time or just in general, matters, okay? They say you are the 5 people that you hang out with the most. And if you are, you know, in relationships that are draining you, that are emotionally exhausting, that's gonna have an impact on your healing or cause, more than likely cause you not to heal, okay? It's gonna really get in the way, it's gonna hinder your success, okay? So when we're dealing with, you know, unhealthy relationships, they put your body in fight or flight mode, okay? They shift your body into the sympathetic nervous system, right? Which is your body's literally fighting for its life, right? This is not the state that you want your body to be in all the time, because this is a state, again, your body can't heal in this state. Your body can't even digest food properly in this state, right? Your body's literally fighting. That's what it is. So when you're stressed, your body releases stress hormones, cortisol being one, of course. And that over time, when your body is consistently stressed and consistently in this state, that disrupts your entire hormonal balance. When your cortisol levels go up, and it's a constant thing, it is a reoccurring thing. What happens is that progesterone, you guys should know that's the sex hormone that a lot of women that have fibroids are low in. That progesterone plummets. It goes even further down. And progesterone is such an important hormone. All of our hormones are important, but it's an important hormone for anxiety, okay? It helps with anxiety. It also is a lot of women who have issues with their menstrual cycle, you know, like I said, the brown blood, because I get so many questions on that. The brown blood, from the clots to the heavy bleeding, low progesterone. This is a hormonal issue, okay? So when you're constantly under emotional stress, whether it's from, like I said, no matter what type of relationship it is from a relationship, from, you know, a family member, you know, it actually makes the symptoms worse. Like, it makes the bleeding, it makes the fibroid symptoms worse, from the pain to the clots to, you know, the days of bleeding, right, to the heavy bleeding. A lot of women don't, and this is something that also I want to tell women that have heavy cycles, because you may be watching this and you may not necessarily have fibroids, right? But maybe you have heavy menstrual cycles. Maybe you have clots. You know, you see clots during your cycle. Maybe you have days of spotting before and after your cycle, right? So let me just tell you, when we're dealing with things like that, that means that we're holding a lot of stuff in. That means there's a lot of emotional turmoil going on inside the body, okay? Whether you're consciously thinking of it or not, okay? So the thing to remember is that our body can't distinguish between different types of stress, okay? So your body doesn't know the difference between you being chased by a lion or you being in a relationship that is, again, with constant drama and turmoil. Your body doesn't know the difference, okay? So, you know, when your body is under the physical stress or the emotional stress, your body reacts the same way, whether it's the physical stress or the emotional stress. It's the same reaction. And that leads to hormonal imbalances, which therefore leads to fibroid growth, which therefore leads to fibroid development, right? Which makes, if we have the fibroids, makes it a lot worse. And if we're trying to shrink the fibroids, it prevents us from doing so. This is why a lot of women who have fibroids, right, like I said, they have been on this journey for months and years and not really seeing much of a progress. It could be other things as well, of course, but this is definitely one factor because of stressful relationships, right? It could be you may see a little progress here, then it goes back down, right? You may see a little progress, oh, you know, your periods are getting better, but then like you notice that you go back down as far as you start having anemia again. Like it just goes back and forth and you're never able to see real results, right? Because if we're trying to get rid of fibroids, that's the goal. Not just like your periods getting better, that means that we're on the right track. The symptoms getting better, that means that we're on the right track, but we're trying to get to the overall goal, okay? Get rid of these fibroids and becoming fibroid free, okay? So just keep that in mind. So it's important to address, when you're trying to heal from fibroids, when you're trying to shrink and eradicate these fibroids, totally eliminate them, you gotta address not just your physical health, which is very important, don't get me wrong, but your emotional health as well. And did you know that they both go hand in hand? And the issue with that, with Western medicine, is that they don't really take that into account, right? Everything is connected. And this is why I say that when people that don't really understand holistic health, they're not gonna get it, right? Or they're just not gonna be aligned with my channel or just my teachings, right? A lot of women don't understand the body is connected. Your body holds memory. Your body's very intelligent. It's not just what's going on physically, what's going on emotionally does, affect what's going on physically, okay? It's not separate, nothing's separate, okay? And we have to stop looking at the systems in our body, our emotional health, our soul, our spirit. We gotta start looking at that as separate. If you have a physical condition, such as fibroids, such as reproductive health issues, right? That alone tells me where your emotional state is in general. It tells me what you're holding on to in general, okay? Now, if you're on a journey to heal that, that's different, right? You're letting go of those things, but just in general, that tells me the state that you're in. And even whether you're consciously aware of it or not, okay? So let's talk about how toxic or unbalanced relationships, because, it may not be toxic, it may just be an imbalance, right? How do those create stress in your life? And more importantly, how does that interact with the fibroids? How does that lead to emotional issues with your emotional health, right? How does that affect your emotional health, especially when it comes to fibroids? So toxic relationships take on many forms, right? Like I said, it could be a romantic partner, it could be a husband, it could be a boyfriend, it could be, a family member, mom, dad, it could be siblings, right? Because sometimes we feel as though people, family members get a pass from stressing us out. That's a whole other conversation, right? It's somebody that drains your energy. They constantly drain your energy. It could be friendships too, because we give our friends sometimes a pass, especially if we've been friends with them for a long time, and we shouldn't. Somebody that constantly drains your energy, somebody that's just this always constant negativity, right? It does not feel good to be around that person. There is no real support or balance, right? That could really, really impact your emotional health, especially if you love the person, right? So when you're constantly in conflict, when you're constantly, with emotional abuse, or you feel like you're walking on eggshells, you feel like you can't be yourself around the person, right? That creates this atmosphere, this type of stress that's there when you're not even consciously thinking about it, okay? So for example, let's say that, you're in a relationship with somebody for a year or 2 years, and there's constant drama, there's constant fighting, there's constant, back and forth, and it's like a constant thing. I'm not talking about just, regular humans argue, right? That's just what we do, argue sometimes, right? I'm talking about it's a constant thing, and it really does impact your emotional health, right? You may be crying, like you've been in a relationship with this person for a year or two, you're crying all the time, you're complaining to all your friends, you don't feel supported, you don't feel heard, right? Some common signs that a relationship is negative is that, again, there's constant tension, there's constant arguing. You feel emotionally exhausted, right? After almost every interaction with the person. There's a lack of support. So you don't feel like you're being heard. You don't feel like your ideas are being taken into account. You don't feel like, you're being acknowledged by the person, right? There's emotional abuse or manipulation, okay? This person may use guilt or fear or the fact that they've done something, for you, or they may, kind of hang that over your head. So it's just you don't feel good around the person, right? And as women, let me just say this. As women, we know when somebody's wrong for us intuitively. But what a lot of women will do is that they shut off their own intuition because when they're in love, right? And I know that that's common, but they shut off their own intuition when they're in love due to fear of being alone, due to fear of, due to almost the desperation of looking for love outside of yourself, right? So as women, we're conditioned to always seek for love outside of ourselves, okay? From childhood, right? Men are not conditioned that way. Women are, right? That, people are always talking horrible about single women, there's just so many things being spread, right, about single women, and it's worse than just if you're single, it's just worse than death, quote unquote, right? As a woman, because it's okay, according to society, it's okay to be single as a man, but as a woman, it's like, oh my gosh, right? So a lot of women, they do feed into that, they do feed into that, right? They do. when somebody's programmed and indoctrinated and they're not really aware of that indoctrination, right? We just want things, but we don't question ourselves. Why do we want it, right? We seek for things, but we don't question ourselves. Why? If you everything that you yearn for, every desire that you have, like, start to actually ask yourself why. Is it because of society? Is it because of people around you? Or is it your true desires? Okay, so there's also a fear of a lot of women of being alone, right? Because of women, a lot of women who are shamed. Single women are always shamed, whether you're in your, well, not so much in your 20s, but, you know, especially over 40, right? Women are shamed for being alone, right? So a lot of women, they will stay in something toxic in order to avoid the shame, or in order to just feel somebody is better than nobody. That's what the old generation used to say. A piece of a man is better than no man, which is so horrible, so toxic. That's something that I think the baby boomers and Generation X especially have really indoctrinated, you know, the millennials, and Gen Z don't care. That's why I love Gen Z. They don't care. They don't care what you talk about. They can't be indoctrinated. They just like, but millennials, I see that in them as well. So if you feel yourself feeling anxious and depressed and just trapped mentally in this relationship with little hope of change, these are signs, right? If you are, and also too, if you feel yourself, if you have this fear of being alone, that on its own, you more than likely attract toxic people to you. Because women that are, again, they have a fear of being alone, they're wanting to settle, they tend to attract toxic people. We're going to talk more about that later on in this video. But I want to say that these are just types of relationships that take a huge toll on your mental health. Like, if you know, from the feeling emotionally exhausted, feeling anxious all the time, feeling depressed all the time, like you're just constantly crying. It's like, and you're just thinking, oh, hoping and praying it's going to get better, but it most likely it won't. But anyway, this type of stress, this type of emotional stress, even when you're not really thinking about it, it stays in the body, right? It stays in the body. When it's not addressed, when it's not, it stays in the body, that trauma, there's emotional trauma, and it manifests physically, right? So when it's chronic, it starts affecting the reproductive system. I'm not talking about just one fight. I'm talking about something that's chronic, right? It's a toxic situation, whether it's physical, emotional, or verbally, So your body, responds to that emotional stress. It's just like it does physical stress, like I said earlier, okay? So that ongoing stress from toxic relationships, it causes your body to release more and more stress hormones. And this, again, totally disrupts your hormonal states, okay? So know that whenever you are settling in a toxic relationship, and this is with anybody, romantically, whether it's family, whether it's friendships, you literally are hurting yourself physically, emotionally, right? You're causing yourself trauma the longer that you stay in that situation, and the longer that you allow the toxicity to happen in your life. Let me just say this, this is something I used to say on Facebook all the time when I was regularly on Facebook. I'm not anymore. I don't post content on there anymore. But toxic relationships lead to toxic wombs. And when I say toxic womb, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I mean a womb that's filled with fibroids, that's, the heavy bleeding, the clots, like it's just yeast infections, BV. Toxic relationships create toxic wombs. And somebody said this in a Zoom call I was in yesterday, right? That wasn't even about womb health or reproductive health, but said that, for women, is your womb a liability or an asset building? Meaning that a lot of women are allowing men, allowing themselves to be with men who, again, are and making themselves a liability. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Are causing them to make themselves a liability. Because if you're always, like I said, let me just say it straight. I don't know how far I can go with this on YouTube, but let me just say what I mean. When you're dealing with a man, right? You're sleeping with a man. You're sleeping with somebody that does not value you. You're allowing them into your sacred space. Your womb is very sacred. In case you don't know this, your womb is very sacred. So if you're sleeping with somebody who does not value you, who does not really love you, probably says they do, but is not treating you like they do, is toxic, what does that say about how you feel about yourself, number one? And number two, you're allowing somebody to enter your sacred space who does not value you. And this is why when a lot of women sleep with men in their toxic relationships, they feel depleted, they feel drained, they feel sadness. Okay, and this is whether you're married or not. I'm not even saying it's for only women that's in relationships. This is for some women that are married too, right? This also applies. Every type of relationship this applies. Okay, so that does cause, like I said, that's subconsciously it's subconsciously telling yourself you don't value you don't value your womb. This is why a lot of women do get these reproductive health issues, because a lot of women, again, have been groomed by society to value relationships more than themselves. And that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue, to value relationships more than they value themselves. Okay? Relationships are absolutely beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Whether it's romantic, just relationships with other people, friendships, right? They're absolutely beautiful. But when we start valuing the relationship more than we do ourselves, this is when you see an issue. Okay, this is when we start to see issues, and this happens to, I see a lot of women going through this. And again, the woman that is, again, her highest self, has total love for self, right? Is embodying, embody that fibroid-free lifestyle. We talked about that in the last video, right? And she's not afraid of being alone, because she's never really alone. Okay, she's not alone. She's always divinely protected, and it doesn't matter. Her love for self supersedes all. So even that woman, 9 times out of 10, does not attract men that abandon her or abuse her, or and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. She does not attract men that do her wrong. She attracts men that value her. Okay, whether they're friends, whether they're romantic relationships or marriages, she attracts that in her life. Men that see her as the dream girl, that will do anything for her. That's what she attracts. Okay, so let me just make that clear. So what happens when we're dealing with these, when our cortisol is out of balance, right? When our cortisol levels are higher, that means, again, progesterone plummets. That also causes elevated estrogen levels, which, again, we know that trigger fibroids. Now, when I say elevated estrogen levels, women that are in a premenopausal state, or women that are in menopause, think that does not apply to them, but it does. When I say elevated estrogen levels, that does not necessarily mean that your estrogen levels are high. What it means is that it may be high in relation to the progesterone levels, or it may be just imbalanced estrogen. Your body's not metabolizing it correctly, therefore leading to fibroids, right? And these things occur when our cortisol levels are imbalanced, are high. Okay, so you see now more than ever, women are getting postmenopausal fibroids. And I say this all the way up to in their 70s. The oldest woman I know that's coming to me with fibroids is 76. And who wants to be bleeding? This is postmenopausal now, bleeding to the point of being anemic, being drained in their 70s. At any age, really. You shouldn't, for ladies that are watching in their 30s or 40s, you shouldn't want that for yourself either. But it even makes it worse the older you get. That's why you should get rid of your fibroids now. Stop waiting. And when I say get rid of them, let me just make that clear, because people are going to say, oh, I did UFE. That's not getting rid of your fibroids. That's you ignoring the underlying problem. Okay? And just waiting until your fibroids come back. When I say address your fibroids, get rid of your fibroids, you get to the underlying root cause. Because if you did not get to the underlying root cause, you did not get rid of them. You did not get rid of the cause, and they're just going to regrow. Okay? Or manifest in another form. Okay? So chronic emotional stress doesn't just lead to fibroids. It leads to other reproductive health issues, right? It leads to, I talked about heavy bleeding, like clots, endometriosis, cyst, PCOS, irregular periods, a woman that's not ovulating. It can lead to, this is a huge, infertility. And infertility is at an all-time high right now. Even for women in their 20s are dealing with infertility. And also too, early menopause. And look this up. Fibroids is linked to early menopause. Because guess what? That's not really menopause. You're probably like, well, Sasha, what do you mean? What I mean is that you're putting your body, you're shutting down due to the toxins, due to the hormonal imbalances, due to the toxicity in the womb area. You're literally shutting down your reproductive system. Not saying that you cannot, again, heal from that, because you can. I've gotten a lot of women out of what they thought was menopause. Let me just say this. I would say honestly, 55, 60. If you go through menopause before that, that wasn't really menopause. And if you don't believe me, work with me and watch you get out of that. I had a woman one time, 48, thought she was in menopause for three years. Literally, we worked together for 3 months in my detoxify your womb program. I think it was like 1 month or 6 weeks in the program. She started like seeing her period after 3 years, because she wasn't really in menopause. And a lot of other things happened. We was able to significantly shrink her fibroids to, her blood sugar level. She no longer needed her diabetic medicine, and also high blood pressure medicine. And just when you have fibroids, it's not just a uterine issue, it's a full body issue. So fibroids was literally affecting her, her health in several ways. However, you may not be at that point yet where you're on medication, but like I said, fibroids affects your health in multiple ways, because it's a full body issue. Okay, so just because you may not be on high blood pressure pills today, or you may not be having these symptoms today. First of all, most women that have fibroids have issues with blood sugar. They just don't know it. Most just don't know it. Okay, and all women that have fibroids have issues with the gut, because the fibroids can't form without issues with the gut, right? So that's one thing we don't think about, but it's the truth. So yeah, so I got off track, but fibroids lead to early menopause. So for women that are wanting to have children, you have fibroids and you have not addressed this naturally, you're setting yourself up not only for perimenopause, which is like they say there's 10 to 15 years of hell, and that's not natural. That is not occurring in healthy women. You're setting yourself up to that, and for also menopause, early menopause. Who wants to go through that? You now have women in their 20s, late 20s, going through perimenopause, or what they think is perimenopause, but what is really hormonal imbalance, what is really toxicity. Your body is showing you signs that listen, I need help here. I need support here. But then we think that taking bioidentical hormones will fix it. Taking hormones that lead to cancer will fix it. Don't get me started. That's another video for another day. So when you are in an unhealthy relationship, it doesn't just hurt you. Again, it does not just hurt you emotionally, it hurts you physically as well. So let's talk about the science. Let's talk about the science behind how emotional trauma affects your womb health, how it manifests in the body, okay, and contribute to the development of fibroids and other reproductive health issues as well. So over the years, more research has been done to link fibroids with emotional well-being, right? Link the two. And also as well, and emotional well-being to physical health, that as well. There's been more research done on that. It's so sad that it seems like Western medicine is just behind, but I always say this, there's practicing 1600s like knowledge, like that's what their books are. Like when you think about what they're studying in medical school, is from like it's old knowledge from the 1600s. Like even the when they say that after 35 is it's risky to have a baby, that's from the 1600s, from French census, because women weren't having children over 35 in the 1600s because they were dying in their 40s, But that's a whole nother story again. So the American Journal of OBGYN found that women with chronic stress, okay, and emotional trauma are more likely to develop hormonal imbalances leading to fibroids. Okay, so there's been so many studies linking even childhood trauma to fibroids. Many studies on that. Okay, so, and it's not saying that if you have trauma, because we all have trauma, right? Everybody has trauma, that you're destined for bad health. That's not what it's saying. It's saying that women that hold that in the body, that have that stored up, that have not dealt with it, that have not released that. And that's what I have my clients do in my program, my Detoxify Your Womb program. Also, as well as we're healing the body, as we're balancing the hormones, as we're getting rid of these fibroids, we're releasing that trauma, that womb trauma from the womb. We're releasing the emotional trauma from the body so that it can be free, but you can feel lighter, you can feel free. Okay, and if you're interested in doing just that, we do that on a lighter note in my the Moon Circle, the membership as well. Release emotional blocks, and we also align more with our menstrual cycles. If you're interested in that, click there's a link in my description box. But if you're interested in doing the full work, working on the full woman, getting rid of fibroids and releasing the emotional trauma, which is so important for getting rid of fibroids and staying fibroid free, then you're gonna want to check out our Detoxify Your Womb program. Okay. And as a matter of fact, today's the last day for our 10-week special, okay? So email me 10 weeks if you're interested in that. It's our powerful, most transformative program. And it's not for everybody. It's for high-achieving women that are ready to transform and heal their bodies. Who want to walk out the highest version of themselves, because that's what my clients do in my Detoxify Your Womb program, okay? So we have it for typically 3 months and 6 months, but we do have a 10-week special, again, that goes on to the end of the year, that expires today, okay? So if you have not checked that out or signed up, click the link in my, click the link. My email's on the bottom in the description box. Go ahead and email me 10 weeks and let's go. Okay, if you want more information about that. Okay, so when we talk about emotional trauma, ladies, it could be, or whether it's the loss of a loved one, or maybe it's a breakup or a divorce, right? Even from a long-term relationship, right? Our bodies hold on to that pain. When we don't release it, our bodies hold on to that pain, even when we don't realize it, right? Just think of a woman that goes through a breakup. She doesn't just get over it the next day. That pain is still in there. Those experiences she's had in the relationship is still there. Those traumatic experiences, those fights, and sometimes some people are replaying them over and over in their head. That does affect the body as well, right? All of that trauma, the trauma she accumulated in that toxic relationship, in that long-term relationship, is there. It doesn't go away unless we actually consciously, like I said, release it, okay? It doesn't disappear once the event is over, once the relationship is over. The emotional stress, it gets stored in the body, right? The body has memory, and for most women, it gets stored in the womb, because the womb acts, unfortunately, as the emotional junk drawer. So it holds all those negative emotions, okay? So this is referred to as somatic memory, right? When the body remembers and holds emotional trauma. Studies have shown that your body holds emotional trauma without you being aware of it, even when we're not consciously aware of it, okay? So even when we suppress that breakup that we had that broke our heart, when we suppress the emotional pain that others have brought us, it's still there if we don't feel through it, if we don't process it, if we don't release it, okay? So emotional pain, when it goes unresolved, when emotional pain goes unresolved, it triggers those stress hormones and disrupts your hormonal states, okay? Especially when it's, when it's ongoing thing, when you're suppressing something emotional that affected you emotionally, that really left residue and trauma, and you continue to suppress it, it throws off your hormonal balance. It throws off your emotional states. Okay, and this may be controversial to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, because I'm still kind of like feeling out YouTube. I'm not sure what I can say or can't say, but I'm gonna try to be as honest as possible. Even when it comes to women in general, or just people in general that have cancer, studies show that people that have cancer, that are going through cancer, they holding up a lot of stuff inside, a lot of emotion, a lot of anger, pain, right? So just that's how powerful the emotions are, the body is. Okay, so again, these are issues. So if we have to create an internal environment, right? That's not going to cause us health issues, right? It's going to actually cause us to thrive. Just like we have to create a physical environment that helps us thrive, we have to create an emotional environment as well in the body that helps us heal, that helps us thrive, right? That's not going to lead us to further reproductive health issues. If you're already suffering with fibroids, your job is to start supporting the systems in your body instead of actually working against it, right? What you want to do is create the environment for your body to heal, okay? Not the opposite. Your body has to feel safe to heal. Your body has to feel safe to heal. Your body has to feel safe to be in balance. It can't when instant fight or flight, okay? So I say this, I challenge every woman watching this to, instead of doing what you've been programmed to do, which is desperately look for love outside of you, I challenge you to love yourself and to want you more. I'm not saying not to desire, relationships, but wanting you and wanting yourself and wanting your health and I want you to want that more than you want romantic relationships. I want you to want that more and value that more than looking for love outside of you. So a lot of us are desperately looking for love that we didn't get in childhood. But we're looking for that in other people, and that's actually not really fair, right? But instead of healing that version of ourselves, that inner child that did not get the love that that was neglected, possibly that was emotionally neglected, that did not get the love that she was supposed to get in childhood, instead of nurturing that, we look for that other people to do that. We look for that outside of ourselves. And a lot of people don't understand this deep yearning a lot of times is, again, you trying to replace that with, and that never works out if that's the case. That's why it's so important to be whole before looking, and not even looking, being found. Because women aren't really supposed to be found, right? We're not supposed to be. And a lot of women they may not be physically looking for love outside of them, but energetically they're looking for love and validation outside of themselves. Catch yourself on that. Catch yourself and check yourself on that, okay? If that's you, okay? So there's so many ways that relationships are affecting our health. Your relationships are a huge part of your emotional well-being, a huge part. Your romantic relationships, again, relationships are very important to us, whether they're romantic, whether they're work relationships, whether they're family members, that's very important to us. But if they're harming us, it's important for us to be aware of that and to act accordingly, okay? So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, again, do I feel drained or uplifted by this person after interactions with this person? That could be a friend, that can be a lover, that could be, a family member. Do I feel drained or do I feel uplifted after interacting with them? Healthy relationships should leave us feeling supported, valued, energized. They should not leave us feeling depressed, sadness, drained. If you're consistently walking away from interactions, again, and encounters, again, consistently feeling emotional exhaustion, that's a sign. Do you feel emotionally drained after spending time with them, right? Do you find yourself maybe even avoiding interactions with them because it's so draining, emotionally draining, right? This is something you want to be aware of. You don't want to just sweep under the rug. Feeling constantly worn out is a sign that your relationship is really taking a toll on your health. If you're constantly worn out by the person, you want to take some time. Maybe you can journal about this. Take some time to think about how your relationships, how the closest people to you affect your health, how on a daily basis. Okay, people that you talk to all the time, you're interacting with all the time. How do they affect your health, your well-being? Do you feel overwhelmed? Are you constantly worried about the state of your relationship? Do you constantly feel overwhelmed? Okay, do you feel like you're giving more than is being given to you? That's another thing too. Okay, do you feel like you're giving? A lot of women feel as though they're giving more than receiving. That's a huge issue. Okay, and that could be also too because the fear, and I say this again, a lot of women, especially women that have fibroids, they live their lives, they operate from a place of lacking fear. And when people are fearful of being alone, fearful of, not having a, love outside of themselves, their actions will show that, right? And they may be overcompensating in a relationship, and doing more to get that person to stay, or to get the, so watch out for that, right? Sometimes it can just be you and how your reactions, right? So when we don't address these emotions, when we don't address these stressors, they build up, they manifest, right? The emotional weight of an unhealthy relationship is just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I always say this, no, and some people may not like this, but no man is worth fibroids. I don't care. I don't care. Like, I don't care if you've been with them for 100 years, 1 year, it doesn't matter. No man is worth fibroids. It's not worth it. So if you're experiencing signs, take a step back, evaluate, okay? Whether this relationship is serving you or contributing to, your fibroids, your physical health, right? Is this relationship contributing to my hormonal imbalance? My heavy bleeding? Ask yourself these questions, because our relationships do impact our health. They do. Contrary to popular belief, ask yourself deeper questions, right? Am I getting anxiety because of this person, right? Or I don't want to, listen, let me just say this, right? This is another thing too. A lot of women may say, I got fibroids because of this ex, right? I got fibroids because, and that might be their way of making sense of it. But at the same time, the person, more than likely, hopefully this didn't happen, this person didn't hold I know I can't say that on YouTube. A person did not hold you hostage. Let me just say that. The person did not hold you hostage. You had a choice whether you could leave or not. Hopefully you did. If you didn't, I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to a woman that had a choice, that they could leave, right? Or stay. So is it that the person caused you fibroids, or did you cause you fibroids? And I'm not blaming you, but I'm just saying for you to realize that you have more power than you think, and stop putting that power into others' hands, right? And that we don't want to bask in victimhood. We want to be the victor. So maybe at that moment in time, with the knowledge that you had then you want to forgive yourself, but at the same time having compassion for yourself, but knowing that, listen, because I maybe didn't love myself as much back then, I allowed this person to treat me this way. And this treatment was what triggered the fibroid growth, was what triggered my hormonal imbalances, right? Was what made my fibroids even bigger and more worse, and what, made the bleeding worse and made me bleed so much that, I had to be rushed to the hospital. Like, you want to take away the power of putting it in somebody else's fault, and taking on that, no, these things happen because I wasn't valuing myself, and I was afraid of being alone, or I was with this person for so long that I couldn't imagine life without them, right? So know and understand that. And this is why I say, as women need to love themselves and love and want themselves more than wanting, relationship and marriage. I'm not saying not to want those things, but want you more than that. Get what I'm saying? And in that case, it makes it very hard for you to be in those type of situations. And I'm not saying to operate out of fear. It's just that when a person has strong self-love, these things cannot happen to them, right? They're going to repel this type of treatment. They're going to repel toxic interactions because they have boundaries, and they're okay with being with or without the person, okay? So I say all that to say, evaluate your relationships. Ladies that are dealing with fibroids and other reproductive health issues, make sure as you evaluating your physical health, evaluating your habits, evaluate your relationships as well. And that could be work relationships, again, family relationships, not just romantic relationships, but including that as well, okay? And also evaluate, if you are, again, loving relationships more than yourself, evaluate that as well, okay? Hopefully this video was helpful. Like I said, if you, for women that are wanting to be fibroid free, that are wanting to completely eradicate fibroids, that are wanting to not just eradicate fibroids, but also embody a fibroid-free lifestyle and are wanting to shift into the best version of themselves, release emotional blocks from the womb, and again, restore their hormonal balance and restore their balance within. All right, the Detoxify Your Womb program, our exclusive, high-level, amazing Detoxify Your Womb program for elite women, all right, is available. We're accepting clients. Again, we have one more day for the 10-week offer. After this, it's either the 3 months or the 6 months, okay? So if you want more information on our Detoxify Your Womb program, be sure to, the link is in my description box, okay? And if you enjoyed this video, let me know if you want me to do more topics like this, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.